Map number 4. We walked a short distance down that road, sort of north and west from Enon Church. On the top map, you see it headed for a little drainage. That's it, in my mind, that's it. We're just about there right now. You can see the Confederate alignment on your map. Mentioned earlier at Hanover Court House about Williams Wickham, the burial of Lieutenant Ford. Well, there's Wickham. There's the general right there. His brigade, 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th Virginia. Next to Wickham will be the troops of Thomas Rosser, his brigade, 7th, 11th, 12th Virginia. This is still fairly early in the fighting. And if we continue down this road, which is now a dead end, I think it actually went through at one time. Where's my expert? It did. And went all the way through and connected up with another road. Georgetown Road. And stop me if I'm getting way offline. Not to detract too much. Can't resist though being here. I think this is part of the road that Stewart used when he made his ride around McClellan in '62. Came right through here and hit Studley Road and continued on. Great stuff. Great stuff. So we're along this church before we reach the ravine, somewhere in either Wickham's or Rosser's men as they start to stretch out. We're behind the lines, I believe. We're actually, I take it back, I want to try to get you positioned on the field. I think Rosser and Wickham are coming up, but they are still quite a distance farther to the, if this is north, why am I arguing with myself? What am I doing? North is where?
That way.
That way.
Ah, you guys are good. There you go, north, okay. So west of us, how far away are Rosser and Wickham from us right now? I don't think very far at all, because what is eventually going to happen is Union troops are going to move forward as the day progresses across this road and push into these woods and up towards these ravines. So the action is generally moving farther to the west as the day progresses. While we are standing right here, I have an account I wanted to share with you. And this is from Private James Keith. James Keith was in the 4th Virginia. Private in the 4th Virginia. This is part of Wickham's brigade. I know he was in these woods. He was some of the first troops that arrived as Hampton began moving his Confederate troops onto the field. They're spreading out. Wickham and Rosser's commands spreading out in these woods, and the 4th is going forward. And I expect they're very close to where we are now and confronting some of the Union troops. His letter is written on May 29th. Now, unless he sat down and wrote it right during the battle, I can't get you much closer to the actual moment he's writing it. And he's writing it to his mother. And the same thing that I said before about Johnson applies here to me, or at least strikes me as such. He's writing to his mother some of the details of the battlefield. And it wasn't like modern war, World War II or anything, where everything was screened and crossed out and everything had to be, don't say anything bad, you don't want to upset people at home, that sort of thing. They were very candid. And that's why we're so fortunate to have so many letters and diaries and reminiscences from this period of time. The wonderful candidness of those accounts just brings it so much more life, in many ways, and death. to what took place. Private Keith, 4th Virginia. My dear mother, we had a severe fight yesterday. Had a severe fight yesterday with the enemy's cavalry, supported by a heavy infantry force. Interesting. The fighting was more incessant and continual than any we have been engaged in. He then went on to name a number of casualties, very common, where he identified men of his unit, his regiment, or company probably, that he knew, they grew up with. So he's sending that information home to his mother. And it strikes me as being pretty typical of what was done on both sides. You sent that kind of information with the understanding that whoever you addressed the letter to, they're going to share it. They're going to share that information, those kind of details, with the people they know. In the fight yesterday, an incident, he wrote his mother, an incident occurred which was rather amusing. Yeah. After it was all over, he wrote. Our regiment went in the line of battle. I was walking in front of the Black Horse Company when we came suddenly upon the enemy, posted behind a fence not 30 feet from us. And this speaks to the woods, the nature of the woods, and the nature of much of the fighting at Hawes Shop. It was done in thickly wooded ground, not in open fields in many cases. So that the men were literally at point blank range at points 30, 40 yards apart many times when they first spotted and fired on one another. Both lines leveled their pieces to fire. I, having shot between the lines as soon as the order to fire was given, quickly fell to the ground. I dropped so nearly at the instant of the fire that all our boys believed that I was killed. As soon, however, as the fire from both sides passed, I got up and joined the battle. And he survived. He survived the fight. And I think it was very, very close to where we are right now. Next, I want to share a little bit about from the history of the 10th New York. And this is from a Captain Preston of the 10th New York. Tyler, do you have that account? Mm-hmm. And he's going to give his perspective of some of the very earliest fighting here at Hawes Shop.
No sooner had the 10th taken position than they encountered and returned the most galling fight. While repeated attempts to drive the enemy from their position were futile, the determined resistance offered rendered the efforts of the enemy to do the same thing with our line ineffectual. It was the hardest fight this regiment was ever engaged in. Much of the ground occupied by the regiment was covered with underbrush, while its front between the two lines was a ravine, across which the missiles flew so thick and fast that it did not appear possible for anyone to survive.